Alright, first things first. I know what some of you might be thinking. That title sounds outrageous. But hear me out for a second. 5 Premier League titles, 1 FA Cup, 3 League Cups, a Champions League trophy, the all-time leading scorer for both England and Manchester United, the second highest goal scorer in Premier League history, third most assists in the league's history, the most goals scored by an Englishman in the Champions League, and the 23rd highest scorer in the competition overall. Oh, and let's not forget, arguably the most legendary Twitter account of all time. These are just some of the incredible achievements of the one and only Wayne Rooney throughout his illustrious career. But beyond the accolades, Rooney was the definition of versatility. He played as a striker, his preferred position, a winger, a number 10, even a deep-lying midfielder at times. Yet, despite everything he accomplished, if you ask people to name the best strikers of the Premier League era, many wouldn't even put him in their top 5. The same goes for the other positions he played. In fact, as recently as 2015, The Telegraph ranked Rooney 14th on their list of the most overrated players of all time. But why is that? Could it be that Wayne Rooney's career is, dare I say it, underrated? Are we missing something here? Well, that's exactly what we're going to uncover in this video. So with that being said, how good was Wayne Rooney really? And more importantly, is he underrated? Yo, what's up everyone? Hope you're all doing great. Today, we've got a special one. We're diving into the career of one of the greatest players to ever grace a football pitch. The main man himself, Wayne Rooney. Also, I just got off the phone with Rooney himself. He says if you like and subscribe, he might consider not putting you to sleep in 10 seconds. I'd take his advice if I were you. Alright, let's get straight into it. Born in Liverpool in 1985, Wayne Rooney was simply born to compete. Wayne Rooney was born into a family of passionate sportsmen, and he was no exception. His 2 sports of choice, boxing and football. From a young age, he dedicated himself to both, often going straight from football training to the boxing gym. But when it came to football, Rooney was a phenomenon. A physical beast, even in his youth, partly thanks to his boxing background, but that wasn't the full story. He was also a technical genius, so gifted that his youth coaches found it difficult to teach him because his raw talent was simply off the charts. Perhaps no quote sums up his dominance better than one from his former coach, Tim O'Keefe, in 2002. Recalling Rooney's brilliance, he said, "He was once running through the middle with only the center half to beat, with teammates wide open on either side. Me and the other coaches were shouting at him to pass it wide while his dad was telling him to take on the defender. He ignored us all, looked up, and smashed it in from 35 yards. Then he just looked over at us, shrugged his shoulders, and flashed that big smile of his." By the time Rooney was 9 years old, he had already scored hundreds of goals at the youth level. Scouts took notice, and Everton wasted no time in bringing him into their academy. Over the next 6 years, he tore through the club's youth ranks, progressing so quickly that by the age of 15, he was already playing with the under-19s. Although primarily a striker, Rooney's game was far more complete than most players his age. His vision, passing ability, and ball control were exceptional. And for someone with his stocky frame, he had a surprisingly impressive turn of pace, a truly special talent. During this period, he had to make a choice, boxing or football. We all know which path he took, but he never left behind the physicality and aggression he developed in the ring. Instead, he channeled it into his footballing style, making him even more formidable on the pitch. Fast forward to 2002. At just 16 years old, Rooney had already broken into Everton's first team. He made his debut in a League Cup match against Tottenham Hotspur, and from that moment on, Rooney made an immediate impact in his Everton debut, providing an assist in a 2-2 draw against Tottenham Hotspur. But what's ironic about this match? The Spurs fans spent the game booing him and chanting, "Who are you?" every time he touched the ball. Well, let's just say those words didn't age well, because only a few months later, remember the name, Wayne Rooney. That's right, in late 2002, Rooney announced himself to the world with his first ever Premier League goal. An absolute belter against Arsenal. It wasn't just any goal either. This was the winner in a 2-1 victory that ended Arsenal's 30-game unbeaten streak. And at just 16 years old, he became the youngest goal scorer in Premier League history, finding the net just 5 days before his 17th birthday. A star was born. Fast forward 2 years to 2004, and Rooney was officially a Manchester United player at just 18 years old. United splashed £27 million to bring him to Old Trafford, making him the most expensive teenager in football history at the time. Some questioned whether he was worth the price tag, but in reality, Rooney was already the real deal. In his 2 seasons with Everton, he had made 67 appearances and scored 17 goals. Impressive numbers for someone so young. But what made him even more of a standout talent was his international form. By the time he joined United, he had already made his debut for the England national team. In fact, at Euro 2004, he was arguably England's best player, scoring 4 goals in 4 games and earning a place in the team of the tournament. Unfortunately for England, their campaign ended in heartbreak, losing to Portugal on penalties in the quarterfinals. But despite the early exit, Rooney's performances made one thing clear. He was England's great hope, the chosen one, destined to bring home the silverware the nation had been craving for decades. Keep that in mind as we continue this story. Out of pure curiosity, I couldn't help but draw some parallels between Wayne Rooney and Paul Gascoigne. In my last video, we took a deep dive into the wild career of Gaza, an insanely talented yet complex footballer who, for one reason or another, never quite fulfilled his potential. And in that video, I also pointed out that both Gaza and Waza were arguably the most naturally gifted English footballers of their respective generations. The nickname Waza, given to Rooney by the British media, was actually a direct reference to Gaza. And for good reason. The two shared plenty of similarities. Both were freakishly talented. Both had stocky, less traditionally athletic builds. Both had a fiery, mean streak in their early years, and both were labeled as the golden boys of the England national team from a very young age. But for the most part, that's where the similarities end. Gascoigne's career became a cautionary tale of unfulfilled promise. Rooney's, on the other hand, tells a very different story. And if you were to simply compare their trophy cabinets and individual accolades, the contrast would be staggering. Of course, football isn't just about stats and silverware, but you get the idea. Alright, that's enough of the Gaza comparisons. Now, speaking of achievements and accolades, there's still a large debate over whether Rooney underachieved in his career. And honestly, I'd have to agree, at least relatively speaking. Relative to what, you ask? I'm glad you brought that up. When Rooney joined Manchester United in 2004, the club was in the middle of a rebuild. Sir Alex Ferguson was bringing in a mix of young talents and experienced players, all with one goal in mind: bringing silverware back to Old Trafford. And as we all know, one of those young players was a certain Cristiano Ronaldo. Coincidentally, both Rooney and Ronaldo were the same age. Both were exciting young forwards. And just in case anyone forgot, at the time, Wayne Rooney was widely regarded as the superior talent to Cristiano Ronaldo, with a significantly higher ceiling. And if you need proof, just look at the accolades. Rooney won the Premier League Young Player of the Year award twice in a row in his first 2 seasons at Manchester United. Keep in mind, Ronaldo was playing for the same team during this period. Rooney wasted no time making an impact. After announcing himself with a sensational hat-trick on his Champions League debut against he went on to score 27 goals and provide 11 assists in 65 appearances across the 2004-05 and 2005-06 seasons. The hype surrounding him was very, very real. By contrast, Ronaldo, while still impressive, registered 14 goals and 10 assists in 66 appearances over the same period. Solid numbers for a teenager, no doubt. But let's be honest, Rooney was operating on another level. Despite their individual brilliance, United struggled to reclaim the Premier League title, with Chelsea dominating under Jose Mourinho. But change was coming, which brings us to the 2006 World Cup. Once again, England reached the quarterfinals only to suffer déjà vu. Another elimination at the hands of Portugal on penalties. But this time, things were different for Rooney. Unlike his electric Euro 2004 campaign, he wasn't at his best. He had just recovered from a broken toe heading into the tournament, and during the competition itself, he tore his groin muscle. Still, he pushed through the pain and played. The result? A goalless tournament. And to make matters worse, his campaign ended in disaster when he was sent off in the quarterfinal against Portugal. It started with a stamp on Ricardo Carvalho and escalated into an altercation with none other than Cristiano Ronaldo, who infamously winked at the Portugal bench after lobbying the referee for Rooney's dismissal. Looking back, this moment feels like a turning point. The moment Ronaldo began to pull ahead of Rooney. By the time the next season kicked off, both players were fully fit, and whatever tensions lingered from the World Cup were put to rest. But Ronaldo came back. Different. He had worked on everything: his physique, his end product, his mentality. And from this moment on, during the off-season, Ronaldo worked relentlessly on his weaknesses. By the time the new campaign kicked off, he was a completely different beast. Stronger, more decisive, more clinical in front of goal, and significantly more involved in the team's overall play. The results spoke for themselves. Not only did CR7 win the Premier League Young Player of the Year, but he also claimed the Premier League Player of the Season award, winning both in the same season. Now, don't get the wrong idea. Rooney was still on fire. In fact, both he and Ronaldo finished the season with 25 goal contributions each, playing a crucial role in Manchester United reclaiming the Premier League title. However, from the following season onward, the shift became clear. United were now building the team around their Portuguese superstar, making Ronaldo the focal point of the attack. This meant Rooney had to adapt. He was pushed out wide, often playing on either wing or as an inside forward. To be fair, with the arrival of Carlos Tevez, United's attacking trio, Ronaldo, Rooney, and Tevez, was one of the most fluid and unpredictable in football. The three frequently interchanged positions mid-game, creating an organized chaos that overwhelmed defenses. This system led to 3 consecutive Premier League titles and a Champions League triumph. But let's be clear about what it meant for Rooney. When I say he played second fiddle to Ronaldo, it wasn't about a lack of talent. If anything, it highlighted his willingness to sacrifice for the team. He worked tirelessly in defense to cover for Ronaldo, dropped deep into midfield to help with build-up play, made decoy runs to create space, and even gave up set-piece duties, despite his proficiency in them. He did all of this without complaint, putting the team's success over personal accolades. And yet, despite playing in a deeper and less goal-friendly role, his scoring output barely suffered. After netting 14 goals in Ronaldo's breakout season, he still managed 12 goals in each of the next 2 campaigns, despite missing 15 games due to injury. Simply put, even in a supporting role, Rooney remained an elite player. Despite being deployed in a supporting role rather than the main attacking threat, Rooney still delivered at an elite level. Yet, by mid-2009, articles began circulating, questioning whether he had failed to live up to the hype that surrounded him since his explosive Premier League debut. Apparently, being a nailed-on starter in a team that won 3 consecutive Premier League titles, a League Cup, and a Champions League, along with multiple individual accolades, wasn't enough to silence the critics. But let's be honest, when you're being directly compared to arguably the greatest player to ever play the game, the narrative will never be in your favor. By the end of the 2008-09 season, Cristiano Ronaldo made his long-anticipated move to Real Madrid for a world record fee. With his departure, all eyes turned to Rooney. He was expected to fill the void left by Ronaldo's 26 league goals. And not only did he step up to the plate in the 2009-10 season, he absolutely knocked it out of the park. Back in his preferred center-forward role, Rooney was unstoppable. He scored 26 goals in 32 league appearances, his best tally by some distance, firmly silencing his critics. However, despite his personal brilliance, United narrowly lost out on the title to Chelsea by just 1 point. But if that season proved anything, it was that Rooney was still the real deal. Unfortunately, what followed in the months after marked the beginning of his decline, at least in the eyes of the public. After an incredible individual campaign, Rooney began questioning Manchester United's ambition and their ability to attract top talent. It wasn't hard to see why. Ronaldo had left for Madrid, and across town, Manchester City were spending obscene amounts of money to build a new powerhouse. This frustration led to Rooney submitting a transfer request. The football world was stunned. United fans were shocked. Sir Alex Ferguson was shocked. The entire club was in disbelief. Rooney also refused to sign a contract extension, though he insisted his concerns weren't about securing a higher salary. Despite Rooney's insistence that his concerns weren't about money, many remained unconvinced, especially when, just 2 days after making his frustrations public, he signed a new 5-year contract with Manchester United. And not just any contract, his new deal reportedly doubled his previous wages. Strike one. Over the next 2 seasons, things more or less returned to normal. United reclaimed the Premier League title, and Rooney delivered a solid return of 11 goals and 11 assists, including a stunning match winner in the Manchester Derby. Now, I'm struggling to find the right words to describe it. Peter, can you help me out here? Cue legendary commentary clip. The following season, Rooney hit his best ever goal tally, scoring 27 league goals. However, despite his heroics, United lost the title to Manchester City on goal difference, a brutal end to the campaign. In response, United made a statement signing before the 2012-13 season, bringing in Robin van Persie. With RVP arriving as the new focal point of the attack, Rooney was once again pushed into a secondary role, this time playing as a roaming number 10 in a deeper, more central position. Although United stormed to another Premier League title, Rooney found himself back in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. At the end of the season, Sir Alex Ferguson claimed Rooney had submitted another transfer request due to a lack of playing time, a claim that Rooney strongly denied. But at this point, the truth hardly mattered. The damage was done, and when Rooney went on to sign another massive contract extension worth £300,000 per week just a few months later, many fans grew even more skeptical of his side of the story. Strike two. In the years that followed, Sir Alex Ferguson retired and United entered what can only be described as managerial roulette, cycling through David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, and Jose Mourinho. Through it all, however, Wayne Rooney remained one of the few constants. In 2014, following the departure of Nemanja Vidic, Rooney was even named Manchester United captain. But to the surprise of just about everyone, Rooney experienced one of the most dramatic physical declines in football history. Somewhere between 2014, when he was still just 28 years old, and 2016, it seemed as though his legs just weren't up to the task anymore. This decline eventually led to his exit from Manchester United in 2017, having spent 13 years at the club. Still only 31, he left for Everton before eventually moving to the US to join DC United. He returned to England as a player-manager at Derby County, but it wasn't long before he decided to retire from football altogether in January 2021, transitioning to a full-time managerial role. Okay, that was a lot to take in. Let's hit pause for a moment and absorb everything. Now, given all the information laid out in this video, let's try to tackle the big question directly. Is Wayne Rooney underrated? Yes, I genuinely believe so. There are several reasons why I think this is the case, many of which we've already touched on throughout this video. But let's quickly summarize them. First, he sacrificed personal glory for the good of the team on numerous occasions, consistently playing in supporting roles while still maintaining elite-level numbers. Secondly, his versatility is unmatched. He adapted to multiple positions based on what the team needed, proving himself to be far more than just a striker. He truly flourished when given the freedom to be the focal point of the attack. As a teenager, he bullied grown men, showcasing his immense strength and talent. And honestly, if you still don't believe he was anything short of elite, just take a look at his incredible list of achievements. As I've mentioned earlier, stats and awards aren't the end-all be-all when evaluating players. But with numbers like these, it's hard to deny they tell a significant story. Now, in the interest of being fair and balanced, let's acknowledge some of the reasons why some believe he might be overrated. And yes, some of these I actually agree with. First, he wasn't really the main man in any of his title-winning seasons with United. Now, an argument can be made for the 2010 to 2011 season, but even then, the team was incredibly balanced, with players like Berbatov, Chicharito, and Nani all playing significant roles. Despite this, I've already outlined why I don't think this makes him overrated. Let's not mistake his selflessness for underperformance. Next, his performance for the England national team in crucial moments has often been disappointing. I'll agree with this one. For example, it took him 3 World Cups to score his first goal in the competition. Other than his performances in the 2004 Euros and World Cup Euros qualification rounds, he didn't quite meet the lofty expectations set for him early in his career. His physical decline was incredibly rapid, another point I agree with. This can likely be attributed to a combination of factors, including playing over 120 professional games before turning 20, dealing with a variety of injuries. He missed a total of 83 games in his career, his aggressive playing style, and crucially, his lack of dedication to conditioning his body in the gym. All of these played into his lack of longevity at the top level. Finally, his public remarks against Manchester United on several occasions certainly didn't help his reputation. He would speak out, only to be rewarded with new contracts that doubled his wages each time. While this is certainly a damning strike on his public image, it has nothing to do with his performances on the pitch, which, despite everything, were still top-notch. Following these debacles, I see no reason to use them as an argument for why he's overrated based on his playing ability. If we wanted to discuss his public image, that's a conversation for another day. Overall, Wayne Rooney was a remarkable player. Could he have achieved more? Sure. But the same could be said for Ronaldo or Messi. Yes, his life and career have been filled with controversy at certain times. But in my opinion, that doesn't diminish his exceptional ability on the field. Simply put, Rooney was and still is an underrated legend. And there we have it. I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts on Rooney as a player. Do you think he was underrated, overrated, or rated just about right? Please feel free to leave your comments below. I tried to make this video as balanced as possible, presenting arguments for both sides of the video title. In case you didn't catch it, I'm personally a huge Rooney fan and truly believe we didn't appreciate him as much as we should have during his career. For a player of his quality to willingly step back and allow others to shine for the sake of the team while still putting in an absolute shift is something truly special. Apologies for the long video, but this is a topic I've been thinking about for a while, and I felt it deserved to be done in detail. As always, all the links to the sources used in this video, the background music, and all that good stuff can be found in the description. If you like the content, please feel free to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell notification for future videos, as I would greatly appreciate it. But hey, it's a free country and all that. No pressure. Anyway, that's all from me. I trust you're all having an incredible day. Cheers, and I'll catch you on the next one.